Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. What we're doing is we're giving you a view of the lake from the front yard again to try to get you guys feeling nice and relaxed and peaceful. And so, we wanted to share some thoughts on what we know um, that we've gotten from the guides over the years and a little bit of what to expect for 2025. Again, this is, as they would say, purely for entertainment purposes. Purely for entertainment purposes.
Indeed, definitely double that.
2024 has been a wild year. It's definitely been a nonstop roller coaster. I can't say it's really stopped at all, can you?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just this constant wave that's ongoing and pushing through.
Yeah, constant escalations.
Hmm.
And yet, there hasn't been like a time, I think, when we've had a substantial taking the foot off the gas when it comes to all the craziness in the world. And now, it's just a matter of what switches to be the dominant topics, because everything that has been a dominant topic in the past is it's kind of still there for the most part,
Hmm.
such as Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, it's now Syria, Lebanon, Iran, Russia, China, BRICS, NATO, all that still going on. No real change there per se. I mean, there's no peace. And yet it seems like it's a slow moving train wreck. That is just that. It's slow moving. It really hasn't popped off in a way in which, you could say definitively, wow, this is it. We're in the thick of it. Unless you're in certain areas, like if you are in Syria, you just had the fall of your government. You just had your president go into exile in Russia, and so right now there's really no governance there. Again, people will say, "Oh, it's just loosh. There's nothing really happening." Depends on where you are.
Hmm.
We've all had our lives totally changed by the events since I go back again to 2017 in August, the first eclipse in the U.S. that seemed to change everything. We had three major hurricanes hit us in a matter of 2 weeks' time. And it just seems like all the quote unquote natural disasters started to really escalate, floods like we haven't seen before, storms, tornadoes, just on a more intense level than we were seeing before. And then, of course, we had the events of December 2019 rolling into January, where everybody felt that, started to realize there is something here that's going to change our lives forever. It really started perhaps back in October, as there were things, let's say, war gamed, certain events that took place. 201, if you know what I mean. 2 months before exactly what was war games happened. And now you have to wonder, is there something else going on? Is it December 2019 all over again, where there's signs that there's something going on, but nothing officially, or at least, nothing definitively has been stated? There's the avian flu, H5N1, that's been out and talked about. You do have different places reacting differently to it. And then we've been talking about the strange clouds. Now, if you can see on the horizon on the other side of the lake, that silvery tinge, there was a big X over on this side of the lake, a big X and bluer skies. And then that X spread out, and now everything is kind of, barium, aluminum, and what else is up there?
I mean, they seem to be having a lot of fog rolling in many different areas, and some people are even saying it has a smell to it.
Chemical, yeah. And you have a lot of people, obviously, not feeling well at this time and putting two and two together, so to speak. And then, of course, we had all the UAPs and the drones, and that was I don't know, what was the number one event of 2024 so far? We forget about things because it just seems like there's always something new that comes.
Yeah, I think everything kind of blends into a bit of a blur, and people don't have time to sit and reflect and look back and see where things are truly at.
What has clearly happened, I think, is uh, the population of this world has woken up to a larger degree than was awake in the past. There's more people now that understand the bigger picture than at any point in our lifetimes. I think that's definite. And yet, nothing really has changed. There's been a lot of promises, a lot of talk, and there's supposed change on the horizon, but will it really manifest?
And we look at those people who are promising the changes, and really it's just your actions, the actions. Uh, as a parent, you kind of keep in mind that children generally don't listen to what you say, but they definitely watch what you do. And right now, I don't think the politicians care either way. I don't think they care if we listen to what they say or watch what they do. They're just going to keep doing what they're doing. I don't see any plans to change for them to change.
Yeah, again, I think the change will never be spurred on by the system in a positive way. The system will only react to what we demand.
Oh yeah, it's a reactive world.
It is, and there's still so many that need to be awakened. And yet, for those that are awake, what to do? Well, I think again, you got to keep yourself as healthy as possible. I like the term that was given by the law of one. We are a mind, spirit, body complex.
That is a nice saying, and it's a nice way of putting it. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, so you need to address all those things. Exercise, get as fresh air as possible. We have multiple purifiers going on, UV, HEPA in the house all the time. The guides wanted to make sure we had that. We do have redundancy to filters. We have multiple ways of filtering water, and we have, again, redundancy there. We have food stocks and things for emergency, and the stuff that we buy and put into quote unquote emergency storage is really just the same stuff we would use anyway. We just rotate it as we go. If you are buying any survival foods, prepping foods, make sure they're organic. Make sure they don't have the fake dyes and artificial flavorings and ingredients. Make sure the first couple things, make sure there's no sugar on them. Again, there's turbo cancer spreading all over this world right now. And the number one thing that feeds cancer is sugar. So when you look again to what the system has given us and said, make sure, grandma and grandpa take their Ensure when they get home, because they have cancer, they're going through this and that. And you look at the label and you realize, the number one and number three ingredients are sugar. That's not helpful. That's really not helpful. There's better ways of getting your vitamins, minerals, and better ways of sending nutrition into the body in a manner that won't spark that cancer to even move faster. And you're not going to find that again from the regular system. You have to kind of go into alternative sources and look up natural ways of doing things yourself.
And it does, if you do things differently, if you do things like that, it kind of forces you to slow down and take a look at what you're doing. I think people are in such a hurry now. They just grab whatever thing is on the shelf, whether it be Twinkies, Ho-Hos, it doesn't matter. They're hungry. They need something to get through the lunch. And that is where people are getting very, very sick, and they're not taking the time to look to see what they're putting in their temple, which is the most important thing. So I think the biggest change that really needs to happen is people taking responsibility for what they put in their bodies, because that's going to play off of everything else, everything that they're putting in the air, the water. We cannot be adding to that. So slowing down and recognizing what are you putting into your body, I think is the one thing that should change overall.
Absolutely. It's good to see progress in some areas. You have, communities that are no longer going to put fluoride in water. There's been promises made on national levels. We'll see. We'll see if there's not something else that comes along that's so big that none of that ever happens. Because we have a right to be cynical. After all, there's been so many promises that have never been fulfilled, and you can't probably make a video long enough to list them all, but we have to do it ourselves, and there's a lot of good resources, and you'll find that there's resources that are good for certain things, but they're still stuck in certain ways for others. There's a lot of survival prepping channels that don't have a clue about nutrition and health. That's just, that's not their expertise. They're all about prepping and survival. So yeah, look to the prepping and survival channels for something, look to the homesteading channels for something else, look to people that are looking for alternative ways of healing and also maintaining optimal health through proper nutrition, from channels that have that type of expertise as well. We try to give a balanced approach to all these things as best as we can with our areas of expertise and what we've experienced ourselves.
Yeah, I think for us, through all of this, we try to make sure that our food stocks are up to date and they're organic. I'm not worried about Mike and I so much as I am about the pups, because you can really only store so much dog food back, and our babies are kind of big. So they eat a lot. So that's something that I'm still working out, but we do keep enough on hand to get us through a bit of a bump if we run into something, until, let's say, if the mail goes down, or you don't get mail for 3 months. I mean, we could probably get through that, but beyond that, then you're looking at having to do different alternatives, and what is that going to look like for you?
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to the pups, we do make their own food. We do their own food from scratch. It's about every 5 days, I guess, is what it works out to. We probably do spend almost as much for them as we do for ourselves as far as food goes. And they definitely, I would say, they out eat us pretty easily.
Hmm.
But also, they don't get ouches either. I'll just leave it at that. We don't follow what the system has given us to be the norm. That's just us.
Recommendations.
As far as recommendations, I've never in my adult life really believed in it, and always had lingering doubts going back to childhood. And I think it is actually something that's a product of past life, and still maintaining some connectivity to the higher self and just knowing. So other things that we've gotten is, what is the reality on Earth? Well, the reality on Earth is that it's not run by humans. It's not run by Homo sapiens. So that's that's a big one. And AJ has called this place a prison planet. So has David Icke and others. In a way, yeah, there's a matrix here, that has made it very much like a prison. However, that matrix, their lease on Earth expired. It expired. It's time for them to take a hike, and yet they won't go without kicking and screaming. And that's the reality that we find ourselves in. Their lease expired April 8th, 2024, and so it's time for them to say goodbye. Sayonara. Maybe head back to Mars.
Hopefully, if we're lucky.
And meanwhile, expect the unexpected. All the things that we've seen telegraphed, all the rumors, it's only going to keep going. In some ways, I think the drone UAP situation, is really them showing themselves a little bit more in their true form, so to speak. And that is what we'll see more of in the future. Now, it's not just the negative ETs that destroyed Tiamat, from which Earth was recreated. Earth is salvaged material, so to speak, from the old Tiamat, which was destroyed in this galactic war. And it was salvaged by those beings that you call the Galactic Federation. They came together, many different beings, different species from all over, came together to recreate a place where many forms of life can come and learn and explore and grow.
Hmm. There's so much more out there than what we were taught in school. That's one thing I think people could remember, if they could keep that in their minds as we travel through this world with mainstream media and the education that we are given, um, keep in mind that there's a lot more out there, and you don't know what you don't know.
No, absolutely. So, yes, in so many ways you are behind enemy lines. However, the enemy, it's time for them to retreat. How will they do that? What will their actions and reactions be? Well, I think 25 is the year. 2025 is the year that we really start to see. It's going to be a tough one. And I think it's going to be probably more challenging easily than 2024. Yet at the same time, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And they've again given us all these years and agendas. They need to have everything in place by that 2030. So they're going to cram a lot into the next 3 to 5 years, and it's just a matter of us to ride out the storm.
Hmm. Indeed, it is a matter of us to prepare ourselves as best as we can. Um, People are not going to be good at everything, so pick and choose those things that you want to be good at, need to be good at. We choose the spiritual practice because we know if we have that, then everything else is going to fall into place.
Absolutely. So we'll be sharing a lot more on Patreon and also on Heart's Home too, with more guidance as far as the spirituality goes. Lots more upcoming to weather the storm. Look forward to your comments. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.